When people think about a painful childhood, they often imagine something obvious: severe trauma, extreme situations, clear, visible hardship. But what if the real impact of a painful childhood isn't always obvious? What if it's subtle, quiet, and still shaping your life today? Because for many people, the most powerful effects aren't the events themselves. It's what those experiences quietly created inside you. It's not always what happened. It's what stayed. You might look back at your childhood and think, it wasn't that bad. Others had it worse. I should be over it by now. And yet, something doesn't feel fully right. Maybe you feel emotionally disconnected, easily triggered, drained in relationships. Unsure of yourself or stuck in repeating patterns. This is where the hidden impact begins, because the effects of a painful childhood don't always show up as memories. They show up as patterns. Your system was shaped early. Before you had the ability to understand or question anything, your system was learning how to respond to stress, interpret emotions, experience connection, understand your place in the world. And this learning didn't happen through logic. It happened through experience, the tone of your environment, the presence or absence of support, the way emotions were handled. All of this shaped your internal system. What your system had to do to adapt. If your childhood environment included emotional distance, conflict, lack of communication, criticism, instability, your system had to adapt. Maybe you became more independent than you should have been, highly sensitive to others' moods, guarded or withdrawn, focused on avoiding conflict, constantly seeking approval. At the time, these adaptations made sense. They helped you navigate your environment, but they didn't disappear when your environment changed. They stayed. The patterns that follow you. As an adult, you might not consciously think about your childhood often, but the patterns it created continue to operate. You might notice difficulty trusting others, fear of being judged or rejected, overthinking interactions, struggling to feel fully connected, repeating the same relationship dynamics, and it can feel confusing because you're not reacting to your childhood anymore, but your system still is. The emotional imprint. Here's something most people overlook. Experiences don't just stay in your memory. They leave an imprint, an emotional pattern, a way your system responds to certain situations. So when something in the present resembles something from the past, even slightly, your system reacts as if it's happening again. That's why your reactions can feel stronger than the situation seems to justify, because it's not just about now, it's about everything that's still being carried. It can go beyond what you remember. Sometimes the impact of a painful childhood isn't even fully conscious. You may not remember everything clearly, or you may not recognize certain experiences as significant, but your system does. It holds on to emotional experiences, patterns of interaction, repeated dynamics, and those patterns continue to influence how you experience life. The generational layer. Now let's go one level deeper. Some of what you carry may not come only from your direct experiences. Family systems often carry patterns across generations. Things like trauma, fear, emotional suppression, disconnection. These patterns can shape the environment you grew up in, so even if certain events didn't happen directly to you, you may still feel their effects. This adds another layer to the experience, one that many people never fully consider. Why it affects every area of your life. The impact of a painful childhood doesn't stay in one area, because it shapes your internal system, and your internal system influences everything. How you think, feel, react, connect, make decisions. That's why you might see similar patterns across different areas of your life. Relationships, work, self-image, it's all connected. Why awareness isn't enough. At this point, you might recognize some of these patterns in yourself, and that awareness is important. But many people stop there and feel frustrated. Because even when you understand the pattern, it doesn't automatically change. You might still feel the same reactions, the same emotional weight. That's because the pattern isn't just mental. It exists on a deeper level. The deeper structure of the pattern. These patterns live in how your system responds, physically, emotionally, mentally. They are part of your baseline. So trying to change them only through thinking or behavior often doesn't fully work. Because the root hasn't been addressed, it's like trying to change the outcome without changing the source. What happens? When the pattern begins to shift, when the underlying pattern starts to change, the experience of your life begins to change with it. You don't have to force yourself to react differently. You just do. Situations that used to trigger you lose their intensity. You feel more stable, more present, more at ease, and because of that, everything around you shifts. Your relationships feel different. Your decisions feel clearer. Your sense of self becomes stronger. You're not overreacting. You're carrying something. If you've ever felt like your reactions are too much, it's not that you're overreacting. It's that you're carrying something that hasn't been fully released. And once you understand that, you stop judging yourself and start seeing the real reason behind your experience. Final thought. The hidden impact of a painful childhood isn't always visible. It doesn't always show up as a clear memory or event, but it shows up in how you experience your life, in your patterns, your reactions, your relationships. And once you begin to see that clearly, that you're no longer just living it unconsciously, you're starting to understand it. If this gave you a new perspective, subscribe to the channel, because here we go deeper into understanding the patterns that shape your emotional life, your relationships, and your sense of self. And if you're ready to explore how these patterns can actually be addressed at their root, the level where they truly exist, there's more for you. You'll find a resource in the description and in the pinned comment that connects directly to what we discussed today and takes you deeper into understanding how these patterns can begin to shift. If you've ever felt like something from your past is still affecting you, that's where you can start to understand what to do about it.